Okay. Hey everyone. Pete kids, if you see this, this is not for you. This is totally separate. So has nothing to do with you. So you do not have to watch this. This has nothing to do with our English 2 class. This is something completely separate. Okay? I love you, Peak little ones. Okay. So today we are doing reading ACT intervention. Um, Really what it's going to look like is we're going to do a quick do now. I'm going to give you a strategy and some notes for you guys for the ACT. We're going to read 2 Onion articles. Then we are going to read an article on climate change. And then we're going to have prep work. This should take all in all probably about 30 to 45 minutes. Cool. So let me organize this screen because it's kind of a mess. Let's look at here. Okay. Cool. So here's our do now. This is going to be in our writing notebook. And I'm going to give you 4 minutes on this. So, what do you think the meaning of this cartoon is? So this cartoon in the upper right corner, what do you think the meaning of the cartoon is? So what do you think the message they're trying to give you is? And why do you think that? Or how do you know what you think is correct? I want you to write down the answers to these 2 questions in your writing notebook. It doesn't have to be in complete sentences. It can be in any way that you see fit. All I want you to do is try and answer those 2 questions. So pause me now, and in the link, you can hit the 4-minute timer and you can move forward. Yeah. The link in the description. Okay, so hit pause, time yourself for 4 minutes, and write it out. Okay, so looking at this cartoon, we're trying to get to the overall meaning of this cartoon. Now, there can be several different ideas or themes, but we need to think carefully about which one is the most important in an article, or in this case, in a cartoon. So, a theme or a central idea should have a deeper, complex message that relates to you and society or society in conjunction. So, if we look at this cartoon, now we're on the bottom left corner right here, or bottom right corner, excuse me. We see obviously a little kid polluting a relatively clean river, and an authority figure beating down on him. Could a theme be that the environment is being polluted and we should be penalized by it? Absolutely. It definitely is a part of that. But is a better theme for this cartoon that there are huge companies polluting the environment and the authorities are going after the little guy or us in society? I think that paints a better overall picture. There are a lot of different ideas within this cartoon, but I want to think about the central idea or the big theme. So it's taking the overall message of this cartoon, not just one particular message. So we want to look at the overall idea. I think that's the key. We try and get the whole thing instead of just one element or one aspect. Because realistically, like, yeah, this is totally about environmentalism. But also it's about environmentalism plus corporations not receiving penalties for polluting and consumers, us, receiving penalties for polluting. That's a much deeper understanding of the cartoon. than just saying environmentalism. So what I want you to do now that we discuss this, I want you to write down these 3 little bullet points here about theme or central idea. So again, you can pause me now if you need to. You can pause me right now, no problem. And just write down all of these notes. You can write them right underneath your do now and label them whatever. Label them theme slash central idea. Okay, so pause me now and write your notes down. Okay, so now that you have your notes down, let me kind of break something else down. So as we are reading, we have to consider what the theme or the central idea of the article is. So we're going to bring this back into our Reading ACT now. So when we're doing the Reading ACT, every single passage, you're going to see a question that relates to either theme or central idea. They use those 2 terms interchangeably. That means theme and central idea are more or less the same thing all the time. So if we read closely for theme / idea, we're going to set ourselves up for success. There are about maybe 10 questions per passage, and probably 2 will be about either one of these 2. So we can nail 20% of our reading or our passage. We can get those questions right. And if we understand these 2 things, then we're going to understand a lot more about the text. So let me show you how to do it. Then I'm actually going to do one. Then we're going to do one, and then you're going to do 2, because you guys should be doing more work than me all the time because I'm lazy. Cool. So how do we do it? These are your notes here. Let me explain them, and then you can pause. I'll tell you when to pause, and then you can write them down right underneath your notes from earlier from here. Cool. So your first step is to examine, fancy word for look at, the title of an article. It can tell you the genre and what the article is going to be about, aka central idea or theme. So if I have an article that says, I don't know, 5G, 5G does not cause coronavirus. You, as a smart, intelligent reader, can see that title and say, okay, I bet this article is going to be about 5G not causing coronavirus. So first step is to look at the title. Your second step is summarize every paragraph or 2 paragraphs. So as you're reading, you are annotating, you're underlining important details. I would say every 1 to 2 paragraphs, just write what the main idea was for that paragraph. Once you finish the article, then you can use your 1 + 1 + 1 = summary strategy to get a really quick summary for the article. Number 3 is, what was the author trying to get you to think about overall? If you do step 2 and step 3 in conjunction, I think that'll give you a pretty good idea about what the article was about overall. And then step 4 is check your answer choices and see which one most closely matches step 2 and 3. if you look at the answer choices, then step 4 should really align with step 3 and step 2 in conjunction. That's just checking your answer choices. So that's how I would tackle a theme and central idea question. Okay, so pause me now, take your notes, and then we're going to move forward. We have 2 examples. Okay. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to do this example. Let's see if I can get this right. Okay. So this article is an article from The Onion, and it says, "Man not sure he can take another 6 weeks of barely following CDC guidelines." Okay. So looking at it, looking at the first step, I see the title of the article, and I'm going to think about the genre. Um, I know The Onion is a satirical website. So satirical website pokes fun um, about our society in some ways. Typically, we have a deeper meaning about our society. So, or it will poke fun at our vices in our society. So, if I look at this title and I know where it's coming from The Onion right down here, I can already get a gist of what this article is going to be about. And I know it's going to be about coronavirus, one, and like quarantining. And then I know it's about people being frustrated with it. Okay. So summarize every paragraph or every 2 paragraphs. Okay. Well, this is just one big paragraph, so I'm going to cut it in 2, and I'm going to cut it into here. And I'll take notes on my whiteboard. You would take notes on your paper or your scrap paper that you're using. So, St. Louis. Following more than a month of the half-hearted adherence to the guidelines put in place to combat COVID-19, local man Luke Bradley confirmed Friday he was unsure if he could take another 6 weeks of barely adopting practices recommended by the CDC, Center for Disease Control. So Luke can't do quarantine. It doesn't matter if you misspell anything in your notes. These are just to get you a summary. I honestly don't know how much longer I can keep running cold water over my hands for a few seconds every time I've been in a public space, said Bradley, who explained that the changes he made to his personal routines, such as reducing his trips to the corner store for snacks and beverages to twice a day, had begun to take a heavy toll on his mental health. So, changing routines. It's hard. And I'm also going to write making fun of Luke. Because again, this is poking fun at our inability to just sit in our house for a while. So this is one half of the article. I think it's making fun of Luke that he can't do quarantining and that he literally can't change his routine. Okay. Second half. I'm going to write the second half right here. I'm about to hit my breaking point, especially with social distancing. It's so depressing when you can only hang out with a few different groups of friends on a Friday night instead of going to a club or a big house party. Oh, and God help you if you post pictures of yourself on social media with your arms around a bunch of your pals because you'll get attacked for being part of the problem. Seriously, how long can a person stay home from work every time he experiences a fever and prolonged coughing fits before he completely loses it? Bradley went on to bemoan the fact that he wasn't even allowed to see his grandmother, adding that if the 87-year-old couldn't survive diabetes, lupus, and the loss of half a lung to cancer, she ought to be able to survive a visit from a loved one. Okay. So Luke is upset. No parties. No photo. No grandma. And then he's also upset. I would also say he's upset because this messes with, misspelled routine. I would say that he's upset because it messes with his routine, but it's also, again, making fun of how hard he thinks he has it. So if I take all of this and I try and summarize it into one sentence, I think the whole article is making fun of Luke. So instead of saying Luke, how about I say society? Because again, if we know that satire, we know it's probably about society, not just one person. Society can't adapt. So adapt means change to society can't adapt to new routines. He can't go to the corner store. He can't go to parties or take photographs. He can't go see his grandma. And that would summarize the article, pretty much. Did that take a long time? Definitely. It definitely took a while. But now I have a firm understanding of this article. If we can do this a lot, we'll develop this skill a lot quicker. So I'll get rid of this now. Okay. So what I need you to do, I want you to have your notes with the 4 steps out. And I'm going to give you another Onion article. So know that it's from the Onion, know that it's satire, which should help you formulate a summary right off the bat. You guys are going to read this article. Okay, which is Disney announces plans to release Mulan directly into Americans' consciousness, from the Onion. So I'll read it to you, and then I will pause after this first paragraph right here, where this paragraph ends. And then I'll give you guys maybe 30 seconds to come up with some notes and actually to come up with a summary. You should be writing notes as you're reading, and then we'll do the same thing for the bottom one. And then I'll give you a minute at the end to formulate a summary sentence. Okay. Burbank, California. As studios continue to delay the theatrical runs of major films due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Walt Disney Pictures announced Tuesday to release the highly anticipated live-action remake of Mulan directly into the consciousness of every American. In the interest of encouraging film viewers to be safe, we have chosen to skip theaters altogether and instead reach audiences by transmitting this epic tale of legendary warrior who risks everything for her family into the minds of all current U.S. residents, said Disney Bob Chapek, encouraging the 30 million domestic viewers of Mulan to reduce the transmission of the coronavirus by staying home, where regions of the brain vital to memory formation and linguistic processing would be hijacked to delivering a dazzling, unforgettable cinematic experience. Okay. Take 30 seconds right now and see if you can come up with a summary, kind of like what I did up here. She's outside. Okay. I'm going to assume that was enough time. If you need more time, just pause me on YouTube. Cool. Second half. Fans who are disappointed to hear of the film's delayed release will be relieved to know that on April 17th at 6 p.m., their visual and auditory courtesies will be overwhelmed with the impressions of Li Yifei, I never watched Mulan, portraying a fearless young woman who disguises herself as a man to fight for her country in her father's stead. Our Imagineers have ensured this mostly radiation-based procedure will allow one sensation of self to fade away completely until their entire experience of reality has become Mulan. We're certain that having every detail of this movie vividly and permanently etched into your long-term memory will be well worth the temporary loss of motor function, moderate risk of intracranial aneurysm, and mandatory charge of $14.99. Hillman went on to confirm that Disney would be streaming the 1998 animated version of Mulan on a continuous loop in the dreams of each American for 2 weeks prior to the new film's release. Cool. So, take 30 seconds, write a summary or annotations for this portion right here, and then come up with a summary sentence at the very bottom. You can pause me now if you need to. Okay, so I can't see your answers, but obviously this is not real. This is a Onion article. It's satire. So, step one, if we look at the title, we can already tell that it's making fun of something, that it's poking um, and commenting on certain values that we have. So, if we look at Disney, that it's planning to release it into our American consciousness, and it's gonna charge everyone $14.99, and we're gonna lose motor skill, motor function, and we're gonna get radiation from it. You can maybe infer that the overall meaning is that Disney's trying to make as much money as possible. Um, and I feel like that is the point of trying to get the overall meaning, is that we can bypass all these small little details and instead get a broad picture of what this article is about. And that's what I want you to do. So now we're going to do something a little bit more serious. And I'm going to change that because I think that's maybe a little bit too quick. Sorry, kiddos. Okay. So we're going to read this article. Humanity will find ways to adapt to climate change. The link is right here. Let me do one of these. Cool. We're gonna set it to 1100 Lexile level. So it's a little bit quicker, less words, only 1,000 words. You're gonna use the steps, the 4 steps that we've discussed to annotate and summarize the article. There are gonna be 4 questions associated with this. You can find the 4 questions right here under activities, and it says quiz. You got the first answer, good job. So I'm gonna give you 10 minutes to get that done. And again, you can find the link right there. So you can pause me now, and then we'll come back. Okay, so that is more like what the ACT articles are going to be like. They are going to be a little bit more dry, for lack of a better word. They're going to be a little bit more boring, and that's okay. If you can quickly summarize and annotate as you read and kind of chunk it out a little bit, these subheadings are really good for that. You see this right here? These subheadings are perfect for chunking. So if you see those on the ACT, you can literally just read this section, summarize it real quick, and then move to the next section and so forth. So now I'm gonna give you one passage. It's gonna be 10 questions, and you're gonna have 7 minutes to do it. So we went from 10, now we're gonna go to 7, and we're gonna have more questions. So this is gonna be a little bit harder. On the actual reading ACT, you'll only have 35 minutes to answer 40 questions. So we need to get a little bit speedier here. So you'll do this, and then after 7 minutes, so you're gonna read the article, you're gonna do the steps, and then you're gonna answer the questions just on a separate sheet of paper. So 1, it will look like this. 1, A, 2, B, 3, C, so on and so forth. And then after we're done with that 7 minutes, you'll get a link to the Google form here, and then you will just fill it in, 1, blah, blah, blah. This way I can check how you're doing with it. And that is all we have. So, let me know if you have any questions, and thank you guys. Have a good rest of the day. Bye.